Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. We get together most weekday mornings, this time, 8 o'clock Central, to talk about strategies, tips, techniques, share success stories, and support each of you. You'll see on my shared screen here, if all's going well, the 4-week funding website, and I'm going to be using that as a reference piece as we move through today's discussion. So we can see here in the top left, our topic is how to make a business fundable. And we kind of have two different groups of people. We have entrepreneurs that participate in the grant subsidized program who are looking for funding to start or grow a business, which is great. And then we also have distribution partners, commonly referred to as affiliates, that help us build financial literacy, help us spread the word, and they, of course, are paid. So we have a very transparent model. We'll look at our proposition from both perspectives this morning. And again, welcome to the daily Zoom webinar. Our 501c3 nonprofit applied for and received a grant, and our focus is twofold: building financial literacy and increasing access to capital. And actually, we need, in many cases, to have that financial literacy to understand how to access capital, which we'll talk about further. We have some specific learning objectives that we have to cover today based upon the grant. And so let me show you what those learning objectives are. Then we'll go through our presentation, and then we'll come back and make sure that we've met those learning objectives. If not, or if you have any questions or concerns, type them in to the question and answer box. It's like a chat box of Zoom, and we'll get to those as soon as possible. So the first learning objective today is to make sure that we know what it takes to be considered fundable. And as we've discussed before, no bank, no lender cares how badly someone wants money or how badly someone needs money. Banks don't care. They don't underwrite based upon urgency. They underwrite based upon fundability. And we're going to have a very transparent discussion about that this morning. Second learning objective is we want to talk about how you all can qualify for a $5,000 grant. So we'll discuss that as we move along. We want you to understand how our grant subsidized program can move anyone from where they're at, their starting point, their baseline, to being fundable in 28 days. And we're held accountable for two things: finishing the curriculum in 28 days, in other words, it's fast, and secondly, for the resulting funding, which we'll talk about more as we move along today. A lot of times there's myths or misnomers or misunderstandings that I think keep some people from getting business funding, because maybe they hear something and then they extrapolate it to always be the case. Maybe they don't realize that there's different types of lenders and different type of programs that look at different underwriting criteria. But we certainly we're not going to let personal credit scores keep us from being successful. So don't let that be a barrier in your mind. We want to make sure that you understand how the Opportunity Fund works, and we'll be discussing that when we get into week 3. We'll go through the 4-week process. The Opportunity Fund's really important for those early stage businesses that are pre-revenue, because frankly, it's hard for a broke business to get a business loan. So we have a legal and ethical way to start making daily deposits into your business bank account so you'll qualify. So this is another learning objective. So again, if anyone's confused thinking, wow, we're moving fast, we're just simply right now going through what we are going to cover today. Then we'll cover it, and then we'll come back to this and make sure that we did meet all the learning objectives which are required by the grant. We want to make sure that you're aware of free resources, and that fits into the elements needed to have a fundable business. So we'll be covering that momentarily. Make sure that you understand that there's many different types of lenders. Different lenders have different underwriting criteria, and it is certainly possible for startups and early stage businesses to get loans. And in fact, we just announced last week a new lender relationship that is doing very large loans for startups. So if you missed that training, you may want to go back and see it. And we want to make sure before you leave, our session today that you know how to get funding offers today before you leave today's Zoom or immediately after. We also want to make sure that we know how to avoid scams. When you get into the finance space, sometimes people offer things that are too good to be true. And if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Not the case with our program, but we're going to cover that as well. And with that being said, of course, you have resources, 4weekfunding.com, where we're at, and our phone number. But let's go ahead and work through the website, and we'll make sure we meet all these criteria. Again, at any time, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, type it into the Q&A, question and answer box of Zoom. It's like a chat box. So on 4weekfunding.com, this is a website that we launched once we received the grant recently. And the concept is pretty simple. Let's create a fundable business, and I'll be defining what that is in less than a month, because we live in a society where people want to move quickly, right? So it's what have you done for me lately? I need results now. We need results quickly. And that's what we're doing, is legally, affordably, and quickly building a fundable business. So if you find, if you have interest in pursuing this, you can go to 4weekfunding.com. There's a brief introductory video here. Don't know that you'll need to view it since we're talking today. And then right here is the button, the green button, to participate. But let's talk specifically about what does it mean to have a fundable business, and then how can this grant help you have a fundable business literally for free, because the grant covers 100% of the cost of us helping you create a fundable business. But we'll talk about money in a minute. So the first thing that we do in the 4-week curriculum is we're going to work on building a business plan. Now, like with anything as we go through our discussion this morning, if a participant, if a client already has a lender-ready business plan, that's fine. We don't have to redo it because it's not needed. If it's not broke, we don't need to fix it. But for most of the participants, we found that they do not have a business plan that's well suited for lending purposes. So we help create a business plan. We actually use the same system, the same software that we used when we worked at the SBA. I think, you know, all of us that started the nonprofit used to work at the SBA. So we're going to build a business plan. Business plans are important for a number of reasons, but one of the most important reasons, as stated here, is the use of funds. We need to have a crystal clear understanding of how much funding the participant is looking for. And secondly, we need to understand what it's going to be used for. So how much and the uses. Because what doesn't happen, some people think in the consumer mindset, oh, I just want as much as I can get. Well, we can't get a business loan with that mindset. Maybe a personal loan you could, but for a business loan, we have to state who we are, what we do, what we want funding for. So the use of funds is incredibly important. So we're going to do that. And how much does that cost? It's free. There's a 4-week sequence we're going through here. And because of the grant, we do this for free. All right, now, second item within week 1 is obtaining seed capital. So as clients come in, sometimes they're needing funding right away, even before we've completed the 4-week curriculum. And so if that's the case, we can go ahead and get them funding offers now. No hard inquiries. They can take the offers they want. Obviously, the funding offers up front are based upon their baseline criteria. And then after that, then we'll be able to move forward, build a fundable business, and then be able to get business funding with the results we've accomplished. But up front, seed capital is going to be based upon their baseline criteria. Hopefully that makes sense. So this is what we're doing in week 1. Each participant will be working with one of our advisors, myself or one of the other 6 advisors. So then that takes us to week 2. So we're moving fast, right? Because if we're going to get this done in less than a month, we've got to move fast. And that's what the grant is holding us accountable to do. So in week 2, we're going to provide a unique business address. Now, if the client already has that, that's fine. As with any of these elements, we can skip it. But what we know is the address matters when it comes to funding. Personal addresses don't work. Post office boxes, shared office addresses are all considered risky. So for free, we'll provide a business address. Again, if the client doesn't need it, participant doesn't need it, that's fine. And then we're going to actually file with the Secretary of State to form the entity. Again, we do that free through the grant. So we're talking about free, free, free because of the grant. Now, again, if they already have an entity that they want to use for their capital raise, that's fine. If they already have an entity, maybe we still want to form a new one specifically for the capital raise and then do a transfer afterwards. But our advisors will work with the participants to decide. But it's very possible that an existing business wouldn't need these resources. But we wanted to provide everything from beginning to end that would make a client fundable, because obviously having an entity in good standing and an entity with a good address makes incredible difference in getting business funding. So that takes us to the halfway point. So now we're week 3. Week 3, we're going to do a collateral transfer. Well, why does that matter? So you can see here that we're doing 2 things. We're talking about what does it take to have a fundable business, and we're also talking about how the grant meets that. So does a fundable business need a business plan? Yes. Should a fundable business have some solvency to be fundable? Yes. Should every business have a good address? Yes. Should every business, of course, be in good standing with the state and federal government? Yes. So what we're doing concurrently is outlining what are fundability factors to get funding and how we resolve those or provide those to participants. All right, so week 3, collateral transfer. Well, what is collateral? Well, one of the things that most lenders look for is a pledge of assets that in case the borrower were to default, that the lender could mitigate the risk. It's called collateral. We realize that a lot of small businesses do not have adequate collateral. So we baked it into the grant program that for free, we're providing collateral that we transfer over, obviously legally and ethically, to put on their balance sheet. Also, I made reference when we talked about the learning objectives of the Opportunity Fund. So this is an asset transfer as compared to the Opportunity Fund, which is set up to create daily deposits into the business bank account. To no surprise, lenders want to have collateral, as I mentioned a moment ago, and of course, a business that has activity that has at least 5 to 7 deposits in a month is much more fundable. We know that. We often see problems that clients come to us, participants come to us that don't have that, so we built it in. Week 4 gets us to the tail end, which is the loan packaging. This is a term you may not be real familiar with, but essentially it's pulling together all of the documentation needed to submit to the lender in the right format and getting prepared for the funding. So those are the 4 steps that we go through. And this is really a checklist. If you wanted to just take this information and go do it on your own, that's fine. But now you can see what you would need to have a fundable business in general. A business plan, liquidity, business address, entity in good standing, collateral, at least 5 to 7 deposits per month, and all of your documents packaged together. And when you ask, well, what's in a loan package? That's everything from the business plan to the balance sheet, P&L, which is also called income statement, and so forth. So this we do for free. It's normally $5,000, but the grant covers 5,000 of the 5,000. Isn't that great? But here's how it covers it, just so we're all clear. The grant will cover 4,000 of this up front, and then the other 1,000 is a refundable deposit. So just be clear on that. Once a client or participant has gone through the 4 weeks, then they can make a decision. Do they want to move forward with funding? The funding is not free. So we do all this work for free. The funding is not free because we have affiliates. Many of you are affiliates. Affiliates are just, and again, we're very transparent. Affiliates are paid based upon the funding that the participants receive. So if we didn't charge a performance fee, then the affiliates wouldn't be paid. So yes, we do charge for the funding, but clients don't have to go through it. If they want to walk away after week 4, they can. So with the funding, we have a very innovative and proprietary lender match technology using artificial intelligence so we can match the participant to the right type of funding. Now, let's say you get to this point and say, oh, no, I don't need all this. I've got a business plan. I've got liquidity. I've got a good address. I've got an entity in good standing. I've got plenty of collateral. My daily deposits for my business are great. I've got everything packaged. I just need to go to funding. Talk about business funding. That's fine. We allow for that. You can come down here and you can go right to funding. Click that word apply. That's a hyperlink, and it'll pop up the app. So you can see if you don't need help with the prep, then that's fine. Then go right to funding. But I can tell you most participants, most small businesses do not have a solid base, and they won't qualify for the amount of business funding that they need until they go through the 4-week process. So with that being said, let's summarize what's included in the grant. We help create a lender-ready business plan for free. We do a seed capital application, which is up here, to get them offers that they qualify for at their baseline. They can accept the offers if they want, no hard inquiries. Also for free, we get them a unique business address. We talked about the importance of that right here. Also for free, we filed Secretary of State because of the grant. We have the collateral transfer that we talked about here. Access to the Opportunity Fund, which we talked about here. Free loan packaging, which was here in week 4. And then if you want our help afterwards to go to funding, again, we can click here and we'll go right to funding. And again, that's the same link as I pulled before. It's a 1-page app. So the top half is business information. Anything you don't have, you can skip. Bottom half is key person or business owner information. So again, we're very transparent. Our information's here. Let me pull back up the learning objectives, and then let's see what questions anyone has. Just type them into the Q&A. So did we properly identify the fundability factors to get approved for business funding? I believe we did, and we kind of integrated that into the 4-weekly curriculum. The grant, so yes, as long as you click on here, we can click on there. You get an allocation of 4,000 of the 5,000 up front, and then the other 1,000 is reimbursed. It's a refundable deposit, so we did cover that. We talked about the process over 4 weeks and 28 days. We talked about we're focused on business funding. We're not talking about personal loans. We're not talking about personal credit. We're talking about business fundability. We want to separate businesses and business financials and personal. The Opportunity Fund, we didn't go into too much, but essentially with the Opportunity Fund, it's optional, but it's for those individuals that need those deposits. What we know is if we have 5 to 7 deposits per month, and that's where we address it here in week 3, that we have a much more fundable business. And you might say, well, how's that possible? I need the loan to be able to buy inventory or buy equipment to be able to start making money. We've got you covered. That was the point. We have covered, I think, adequately all the things that you're getting free through the grant. So everything week 1 through 4 listed here is free. The grant is covering 100% of that cost. 80% it's fronting the cost, and the other 20% is a refundable deposit. It probably didn't go enough into this. So there's all different types of lenders we can work with. We are not a bank. The world doesn't need another bank. What the world needs is more fundable businesses. So there's plenty of banks and lenders. We did talk about how we use our AI technology to match to the right lender based upon each participant's circumstances. If you want to get funding today, we can get funding today one of 2 ways. You can enroll, which was click here, and was it this? No, it was this one here. So if you want to get funding offers today, come over here to the green button, press it. It's going to pop up this. We can get you set up, and we can go ahead and get you funding offers today. And scams. So we addressed it a little bit. So I think what's really important is that if you are an entrepreneur looking for assistance, number one, I would make sure that whatever you're doing is in writing. A lot of times people will talk and they'll use what's called puffery. It's a legal term, which means exaggeration, but it's still within the confines of legality. So let's avoid puffery. Let's make sure that if someone is offering you a proposition, that it's in writing and you should understand what you're promising to do and what they're promising to do. I think that's the number one priority in avoiding scams. So if you'd like to participate and come to 4weekfunding.com, which is what we've been on navigating today, you can call us at 903-200-8781. And okay, so Clarence is asking a good question about the grant. And Clarence has a good point. So the 4-week funding program cost how much? Not talking about to the participant. How much does it cost? It cost $5,000 for us to provide this scope of services. How much does the participant pay? Zero. The participant is pay zero because the grant covers all 5,000. Clarence is getting to the point, well, how does the grant cover that 5,000? They cover 4,000 up front, and then the other 1,000 is a refundable deposit. Clarence, you may have maybe moved into an apartment or a rental home where you pay a deposit, and once you've done what you promised to do, you get the deposit back. So that's the way that this is set up. But again, if the $1,000 refundable deposit's a problem, no worries. We can get you seed capital here in week 1. Hopefully that answered your question, Clarence. And yeah, Dorothy has a question, but I'd say for any personal questions, why don't you give us a call and we'll go through any questions, concerns you have. If you'd like to go through the program, 4weekfunding.com, green button here. If you'd like to be an affiliate, get with us, let us know. Affiliates, again, they receive a free landing page and they're paid 5% of the client's capital raise, in addition to some money up front each time a participant enrolls. So every organization that you can think of has a sales element, and we need to have a sales element or a business development effort to reach more prospects. That's just a lesson of business, no surprises. And so, yes, if you'd like to be an affiliate, call us and we can get you set up. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. So now you know what we do and how we do it. We've covered the learning objectives, and we'll be back tomorrow morning to talk some more. You're welcome to join us again tomorrow. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.